Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be getting going in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us today. And I am going to go on mute myself until we get started. Steve, you too. Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for people to start logging in here. So looks like folks are starting to join, and we'll get going in a few minutes. We will be recording today's session, so if you need to jump off or go grab your lunch and you don't want to miss a single word of what we say, we will be recording it and we'll get things out to everyone after the session.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Lowenthal with Kineo. Nice to be together over lunch. Hopefully, everybody's having a lunch and learn and has a sandwich in front of them. So today, I'm joined by my colleague Cami Bean, the VP of Design for Kineo, and we're going to be talking about interactive video. So interactive video has become much more popular. There's been a spike in interest in the market over the last 2 years. We've certainly seen an increase of projects that include interactive video. There's been a significant number of new technologies which have come on the market to enable people to simply and easily create interactive video. So we thought it was timely to share some of the work we're doing and some of the things we're observing in the marketplace, and of course would love to hear the same from you. In terms of roles and responsibilities, Cami's going to lead us through a presentation and sharing of examples. I'll be monitoring the chat and question board to go through that, and sharing those questions as appropriate with the group, and answering online as appropriate. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Cami to take us forward.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. I'm Cami Bean. I am a former VP of Learning Design at Kineo and a solutions consultant now at Kineo. We've sort of changed my role a little bit, but really involved with clients at very early stages of projects and talking to a lot of folks about what's going on in the market. So definitely does feel like that interactive video is kind of the new shiny object out there. So excited to talk to you today about what we've been learning. Before I get into, kind of what is interactive video, I think it's kind of important to talk about the history of video in this industry and in this business. I got started like Steve in the it feels like eons ago. It was like 21 years ago. My career can go out drinking now legally. In the e-learning business, in the company I worked for, we actually had video in our title. It was Video Information Systems, VIS, and video was everywhere. It was all we did. We delivered courses on CD-ROMs. When I was getting started there, we were taking old Laserdisc video programs and converting them onto CD-ROMs. We had our own proprietary codecs, and we had a video production team, you know, of like 3 video editors who were constantly editing and compressing all of that video file. You know, we'd go into studios and hire crews, and it was very glamorous and exciting back in those days. And, you know, that was kind of the core. We had talking head, you know, video was on the left of the screen, and there would be a talking head guy talking through the, you know, the key points, and then we might go in and shoot scenarios and do, you know, something a little sexier. So video was really core back then, and then what happened? The internet happened, right? So we kind of made this transition from CD-ROMs into e-learning, and video disappeared. You know, there's bandwidth constraints and budget concerns, and video was gone. And it's been years since I have worked really actively in video, and it's only been in the last couple of years that we've started to see video coming back. And it's back, you know, really with quite a vengeance, and you see it everywhere. I mean, who doesn't have a kid who has access to a device? This is how our kids are learning so much right now. This is a shot from a few years ago. My daughter learned how to rainbow loom in an afternoon, you know, and just knew instinctively to get onto her iPad and go out and find video tutorials. Video is ubiquitous. It's all around us, and it's not going away. And in fact, we're seeing, you know, a lot from, you know, marketing teams and marketing departments. Advertising agencies have always known kind of where to hit, and they're always a little bit ahead of the learning industry. And you might say a little bit, you might say a lot. These are just some statistics that I pulled up from a blog post, and I just thought they were really striking. 22 billion videos are viewed every single day. A third of all online activity is spent watching videos. I mean, that's just really crazy, right? 59% of executives would rather watch a video than read text. You know, we hear a lot of people saying, I don't know, you'll hear people talk about like, oh, videos are so good for visual learners and all that, you know, learning style stuff. But really, we all kind of prefer to learn from videos or to watch videos. It's a very familiar format for us. And I think really the second bullet here is really, I think really telling. Marketers report, you know, huge increases in conversion rates when using video on landing pages. So it drives action. People are paying a little bit more attention. And you know, that's sort of with just static video. And you hear a lot about video in terms of micro-learning too, right? So micro-learning is the other shiny buzzword in the e-learning industry right now. And I think a lot of that's people have that, that kind of shorter bits, shorter consumption. People talk a lot about wanting to create more YouTube-like experiences. I had a client not too long ago talk about how she wanted to millennialize her content or something like that. It was the first time I had heard that, but it was, you know, people are just really trying to be more modern in our approaches and how we get content across to people. So I actually wanted to do a quick poll before we get into specifics about, and I'm going to just experiment here and see if this is working. So we should have a poll up right now. Have you been using interactive video? So, yeah, you guys know what to do. Yep, we're already using interactive video. We haven't been using it, but we have plans to, or it's just really getting on our radar, and that's why we came here today, Cami. So, looks like, yeah, well, the numbers keep changing. We'll give it a couple more seconds and let people respond back, and then I'll close the poll. So I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so sharing the results. Do I have to show those on my screen, or do you see those automatically? So 17%, you're already using interactive video. So you guys are ahead of the game and can probably share with us. You're seeing them now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. 35%, you haven't been using it, but you have plans to. And I probably should have had a fourth category, which is, well, I guess that's it, just getting on our radar. That's why I'm here. So that's about half of you. So you're really not sure yet, and presumably you have some interest in it. Seems like it has some promise. It seems like it's the way to go. All right, so I'm going to hide that and come back to our deck here. If you guys have questions, please do throw them into the chat window, your GoToMeeting. It doesn't broadcast to the whole audience, but Steve will will jump up and down and let me know that there's some questions or some comments to talk to. And it's always great to hear what you're doing out there. So for those of you who are using interactive video, if you want to just share in the chat pod there, you know, what you're doing, that would be great. We can share that back as we continue the session today. All right, so what exactly is interactive video? We are going to show a lot of examples today, but I wanted to, and I'm going to start with an example actually, but really interactive video, there's lots of tools out there, there's lots of ways to do it. It's adding layer on top of an existing, or on top of a video, so that the interactions and the controls happen within the video itself. You can do branching within an interactive video. You can add hotspots. So within a video window itself, you can click on something. You know, you might see a person and you click on them and then you read or you watch another video to learn more about them. You can add elements like scoring and tracking into it. So if you want to have a, you know, a more gamified experience, you can pull those right into the video. You can have, you know, real life and dramatic stories. You can layer interactive video over over animation. You can add questions and quizzing features right into it. And I think what's cool is you've got a lot of tool companies out there who are just adding more and more on top of it. And then there's this whole analytics element as well too, where we can start, you know, drilling down and finding out what it is people are doing within those videos. So it's just creating a much more dynamic experience. It's way less passive than video has been, and pretty exciting where some of this can go. Steve, you got something to say here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, someone, Caleb asked a question, which is he's mentioning he wants to use more video and wants to know how do you deploy it? Can it be wrapped in SCORM for the LMS? So generally, Caleb, you know, you can embed the videos, either stream them. A lot of the tools that you'll find are sort of web-based tools, and they give you the ability to stream them from their infrastructure into a learning module, whether that be Articulate or Adapt or Captivate. They also, most of them give you the option to download them, so then you can embed them like you would a video into one of those into your e-learning course. So that's the best way to track them if you want to track use the SCORM tracking of a module.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. And I think it's still, you know, kind of new ground out there. We're seeing a lot of innovation and a lot of experimentation happening, Caleb. So, you know, we're trying stuff here at Kineo, and I'm sure lots of other organizations are trying stuff and sort of figuring out what works and what has traction. So for those of you who are experimenting with it, if you're using SCORM, if you're using interactive video within SCORM, maybe share that into the chat as well, and we can share their experiences. All right, so here's the moment of truth where I'm going to try to show you one of these. So stand by while I pull over a window. I've got to find it. That's not the one. Here we go. All right, so this is something that our UK team has created, and it's called Day One. It's teaching new skills to new hires who are coming into an organization and just kind of need to learn the basics of working in a workplace. So I'll show this kind of at a high level and just show some of the features as we go through it. You should be able to hear the audio, and I'll talk over that, and we'll have a play with how this is going to work, because this is a little bit of a new experience here for us too. So I'm going to skip the intro and I'm going to go right into the experience. So, super loud on my ear. So we're getting kind of a little bit of an intro here. It was actually kind of
good for us, Cami, if you want to turn it back up. That was a good volume for us if you turn it back up.
That was a good volume for you? Okay, I've got headphones on, so it's quite dramatic for me. So here's a hotspot. And I missed it because I was talking to you. We also see a scoring feature up here at the top, so we're adding a bit of a gamification element to it. We've got a subtitles feature turned on, which we find is really useful because you might be on a mobile phone, you might be watching this in your train, so I can turn the subtitles on. And in this example, Jim is a new hire. He's joining the organization as well as you, and you're kind of in this first-person point of view as we go through this experience. So there's a hotspot here. I'm going to click on this now. And she's just talking about she's got to hit her targets. She's in the elevator, and we're a new hire. We're learning a little bit about what's right protocol for an office environment. So now we have a chance to drill down a little bit more deeply. You can see I got some points up here in the top bar because I clicked on that hotspot. And now I can watch a video where he's going to talk about, you got to be a little discreet in the workplace. Yep, off in the lift. So, oops. All right, as we get into the meeting now, we've got one thing I wanted to point out actually is if you notice the color has changed. It's gone black and white here. So one of the features that we added into this particular video is if I'm doing really well, the color is bright and vibrant. But the room has cooled down a little bit because I've not been clicking on things. I'm not really paying attention. It's cooled down. And so you can have different, this is sort of a fun interactive layer that you can add onto it with these color palettes, I guess, or color layers. So as she's talking, we're in this meeting now, and there's different things that I can explore and learn about as we go through this meeting about, being a good employee, etc. So I'll just do a couple more seconds of this, and then we'll continue on. Let's see. I'm gonna find the play button.
Yeah, Kemi, we've lost the audio for the demo.
Interesting. So you're not hearing it all?
No.
So nothing now? Well, that's why you have the subtitles here.
That's right.
So there was a little hotspot there that was sort of hidden. I didn't click on it because I'm trying to figure out how to turn the audio on, but here's a hotspot too. So you can, now we can ask questions, we can get some more expert insights through the video. So you can start to see how you can layer different features over a video like this. This was shot in Kineo offices. A lot of these are Kineo employees pretending as actors, and I think some of them are actors as well. Lots of different ways to capture video these days. So yeah, we'll talk about that as we continue here, but I think it gives you some ideas for how it can play out.
I was just going to add, I mean, I think you can, there's a lot of flexibility in the kinds of content you can present in those hotspots. Obviously, it can be videos like you're seeing here. It can be a course. So you can actually, there's an iframe, so you can embed a course, any learning course or a small subset of any learning course which you developed in a e-learning authoring tool. It can just be text and graphics. It can be questions. So, yeah, I always look, the videos kind of create the context for your content is one way to think about it.
Mm-hmm. And it gives people just a much more open and exploratory way to access that content where it's in context. So like Steve said, you can have, hotspots. You can trigger lots of different things when you're clicking on a hotspot in a video. It could be another video, so you could have those characters kind of talking more about the story, or experts sharing their wisdom. We call those wisdom videos. You can have articles, you can have questions, you can have captions. So really there's a lot of options with what you can do, and all the tools and authoring environments that have interactive video have a lot of different options available to you. You can have video within a video. So this is Val, our manager. So in the day one, you clicked on her as one of the early hotspots, and then you kind of get her profile. So it's not always core central content, but it could add a little fun, maybe a little bit of Easter eggs. Here we've got some, there are bees buzzing, and apparently she's not a very lovely person, so we kind of get a sense of her gruffness and her oddness. Wisdom videos, I mentioned those, so as you could be a really nice way to hear lots of different points of view on one topic. And one place where we really like to use this technique is in compliance courses. So imagine in a compliance situation, you have this regulation and rule in place. Let's say it's information security, or it's you know, guidelines around social media usage, or taking notes in meetings. And there may not be one right answer. You know, there's a regulation, there's a policy in place, but often it's these shades of gray. And that can be a really great way to explore it, is by hearing from different points of view, hearing how other people have handled it, and then you can kind of make your own educated decision based on that. So gives you this kind of a technique can give you a great way to get a lot of insight and advice from a diverse cross section of people within the organization. And they can be real people sharing their wisdom. They can be actors, you know, or scripted. You know, it's really, you've got a lot of options in terms of how you, excuse me, implement this. More wisdom videos. So again, you can click in and have deeper text links, share a lot more information through the text.
So, Cami, if I can interject, that a good question came up, and I think other people might be interested to know. Someone's asking, you know, can you make the hotspot mandatory or optional? And you can. So, as you're watching a video, you can make a decision, which is you know, a hotspot will the video will actually stop at the hotspot until someone clicks it and moves through. I mean, and going completely the other way, you can actually have hidden hotspots. So you can not have a visual indicator, but say, you know, put people on a bit of a treasure hunt and find, you know, it could be a safety, spot the safety hazard. You know, one of my pet peeves in spot the safety hazard, people always have the blinking dot on it, or some way to highlight where the hazard is. And of course, you're going to find it. Whereas, you know, sometimes things are more subtle, so you can actually not have hotspots to do that, or no visual hotspots.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is it mandatory, or are you just exploring things? Now, you can also have questions appear. So in the day one video, we're watching Jim. I'll just narrate the scene to you. We watch Jim as he goes into the shared lunch and snack area, and he makes a right mess. You know, he has coffee, tea, it's UK. He leaves sugar all over the place, doesn't put anything away, and now you as the person in the point of view, what should you do? Do you clear it up? Do you leave it? And depending on your response, you're going to see a different reaction, either from other characters around. I think one of the people comes along and says, like, you know, that's really nice of you to do that, but you should hold Jim accountable for his mess. So you can have some fun options with that. You can have captions that come up. So in maybe some of those hidden hotspots, or you see this guy taking notes and you just click, and you know, a little layer of text comes up. It doesn't really need to stop the forward motion of the video, but you just have lots of different things that you can kind of add on top of the video. I talked about that warm and cool strand with the color. So we had, depending on your score, you know, here, this is a high score. At the end of the video, you're full color. If you had a low score, it might just be black and white. Lots of different visual cues you can give to people along with that scoring. And so what's the feedback from us? So we piloted this internally at Kineo and got a lot of feedback from college students. And they really liked it. You know, it's all about seeing these decision-making points in action, right? So here's what happened when I did this. You get to see the consequences. They liked seeing those multiple viewpoints on subjects. And storylines, you know, I've always really touted up the benefits of telling stories in our e-learning programs, and video is such a great medium for that. So if you can tell a narrative, you can tell a story, people really find that it helps the content come to life. And it's just much more engaging and compelling. So that's just kind of high level, you know, what is interactive video, why, and what can you do with it? And I think, you know, some of the ways that it can benefit your organization is what I've been talking about. You know, really great for attitude, behavior change kind of situations where you want people to explore those different options, explore the gray areas. You're finding better user acceptance. You know, a lot of people want that wow factor, and I'm using air quotes, right? They want more engagement, and people do want more video these days. This pulls people in. It's new, it's different, but it's not just about, you know, the newest shiny object. I think there's actually some effect. You know, it's got effective metrics behind it too. So improved knowledge retention, reduced seat time, a lot of analytics that you can get out of it. But some barriers perhaps, and I think the biggest barrier is really about money, right? Video used to be pretty expensive. When I was doing video in the mid 90s, I mean, we would hire an actor, we would book 2 days in a studio. This is for every single course we did, you know, and the cost of all of that mounts up pretty quickly. And then our video editing team would spend days editing the video and compressing it, and I'm sure half of our budget was spent on that. And it was so core to it. So video has seemed probably out of the range for a lot of people. But I think these are kind of false barriers left over from those olden days, right? And there's ways to do this all within a reasonable budget. So one idea is you can reuse existing video. So if you're nervous about where you're going to get all the video assets, well, think about what your marketing team already has lying around. You know, you might have some really great product pieces that could be pulled into a product knowledge piece. We'll take a look at actually this example from Rolls-Royce a little bit later to see how the design team was able to effectively use some creative stuff that's already around. Or you could go guerrilla. You know, if you don't want to go hire a crew and actors, hey, we've got smartphones these days. We've got GoPros. It's super easy to get out there and capture high quality video, or DSLRs, you know, just cameras that have video built into it. So it doesn't have to be this cost prohibitive thing. And I think people do, people are a little bit more forgiving than we used to be. Like, we're so used to selfie video and selfie photos nowadays that that has a very authentic feel to it. So that brings the production of video very much into our hands. And you can add interactive elements on top of all of this stuff. You can add interactive elements on top of animation. So if you don't want to go out and shoot live video, you could do animations using tools in-house. So bottom line, it doesn't have to be live actors shot on sets with costly camera crews. And we can work to a lot of different budgets with this. Steve, do you have anything to add on top of that? Nope. All right, we'll move on.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was in a panic. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And then what do you use to make video interactive? I think that's probably the next question. And it's a really growing market right now. I think we're seeing a lot of growth in that space, and there's a lot of, these are some of the tools we've been working with and exploring. And some of them are, you know, companies that might do the work for you. Some of them are, you know, cloud-based tools that you can go put, like HapYak, I think you can put interactive elements onto any video that's out on YouTube right now. Even within Articulate Storyline, we've been messing around and doing some prototypes with interactive video within Storyline. So a lot of the tools that you have already in-house may be able to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see more and more of the e-learning tool vendors just, you know, this becomes standard fare in what they're doing, because it is really filling a need and a gap in the marketplace. So we've kind of, well, and any questions now, before I kind of move on, we're going to talk a little bit more about some more use cases and examples, but if there's any sort of tactical questions, now's a good time to throw them out there.
Yeah, I would just add in terms of tools, I think, as we've looked at different tools, and obviously we don't have encyclopedic knowledge of every tool out there, but they do have different strengths and weaknesses, different features that they do well, you know, depending on your ambition level and what you want to do. And some of them are there to support you and have really great development teams that you can integrate into as part of your service agreement with them. The other thing to think about is how you want to deliver your videos. So a lot of the tools have a back end included in them, so they have video streaming servers, so that if you have a global audience that needs to access this video and you want to make sure that's a high quality experience, that's a big advantage. The other thing is thinking about what data you want, right? So in particular, if you're starting to make scenario-based learning or compliance learning, and there's real value in understanding where people click, where people are spending their time, many of these tools have those data analytics built into them, and that you can easily access. So, you know, from a learning and development point of view, we can start to own how people are consuming our content, where people's knowledge gaps may be, to inform business, go back and inform the business. People struggled here. People don't understand this feature. People need more support in these ways.
Yeah, great point. And I think that the tool companies, I think I'm beating your dead horse perhaps, but I think we're seeing a lot more going on in that space.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. You know, Darren's asking about how we use Storyline, and you know, Storylines, it's a little bit of a hack, right? You're writing a video and then popping up a question or something like that. So it's more of a linear approach in terms of what you're doing, versus kind of layering on top of. And we'll show an example in a moment, so you'll get a good sense of what that looks like. And someone asked about open source tools, Gary. I blank on the name, but it's EC4 or something like that. I'll look it up. But there is an open source framework that allows you to do some of this.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would guess again that gap will get filled as more people see the need for this, and we see more tool companies playing around with it. So we actually are going to start with an example from something we did in Storyline. And this was a prototype that our development team did a few years ago. I'm going to pull it over here now. And whether or not the audio is going to work or not, I'm not sure. And I'm going to refresh that. So this is in, it's reloading. So this is a Storyline course. It's just full frame video, so you don't have any of the other Storyline navigation controls that you'll see. And then, as Steve said, we layer the questions in, so it has a somewhat linear feel to it. But I think it was pretty clever the way we executed it. Are you able to hear that audio? It's a little jazzy music right now. So this is the streets of Chicago near our offices downtown.
So, Kimmy, something changed. We can't hear the audio anymore. Just
you can't hear the audio?
So you'll have to narrate.
Okay, well that's probably better. I hear the audio, so it's a little disconcerting because I'm hearing a different soundtrack than you are, so I apologize. So we modeled this after something that we've seen out there. And you're taking a tour, you're a new employee, you're coming to work, you're trying to learn what our values are within our organization. What does it mean to be part of the Kineo team? And so you sit down at your desk, you've got no meetings today, you've got nothing to do. So this is all done within Storyline, even those animation layers over the video itself. So what are you going to do? Are you going to get on Facebook? You're going to start your weekend, or you're going to offer to help somebody? I think I'm going to get on Facebook, because that's what we all do, right? I got nothing to do, I'm going to get on Facebook. So here I am, now I'm browsing Facebook, deals of the day. Really? That's what you're going to do? So this is sort of where it's a linear, now we're going back, I hit try again, and I'm going to offer some help up. And the story continues. And the voiceover is saying, hey, do you have any free time? I've got some free time today. Are there any projects you need help with? And if you notice down here on the bottom, I just earned a badge. I got the self-starter badge. And we're going to work through, as the video advances, we'll work through all 4 of these badges. And there'll just be some key decision points along like this. So Mike asked me if I would, he said, I don't have any projects, but we actually have a client coming in today. Would you go help get coffee? And I'm going to go get coffee. So shakes his head. Thanks. I got the humility badge. I'm willing to go out and get coffee for the other team. It's not a glamorous job, but somebody's got to do it. And out I go.
I'll just add in, Cami, while that winds out, somebody mentioned that sometimes it's hard to get employees to get on film and not be nervous. For this actual video, we used amateur actors. We put something in Craigslist. I think we paid them $20 for their time to do it, and they were thrilled to do it because just to build their resume. I think it was a Craigslist ad.
Yeah, it was a Craigslist ad. It was a DSLR, and I think Serge pulled it together, the whole thing, in like a weekend. So pretty cool to see what you can do with just the tools you got. I'm going to stop this here unless people want to keep seeing it, but I kind of get the idea of how that worked there.
This one was done in storyline, so you can see you play a video, then you move to a next, you auto advance to the next screen where the question comes up. Depending on your answer, we can branch. You can then branch one way or another.
So that's a great like induction. The Kineo values example, great for an induction, great for just exploring, you know, behaviors that you want to reinforce within the workplace. It could be great in a compliance course. The example I'm going to show next is it's in Spanish, so the fact that you won't be able to hear the audio is fine. And it's showing a couple things. It's taking advantage of existing video, and it's also showing how you can drill down deeper. So it could be good, this example would be good for something like product knowledge. You're just trying to learn more about the products, etc. So this is for Bridgestone tires. And whenever I see that flashing, I'm turning the volume down on my end. Whenever I see this flasher, I can click on it and drill down. So presumably, I don't speak Spanish, read Spanish, but we're learning a little bit more about this particular tire. So there was some, you know, some existing sort of avatar. It's a still image even actually with a text build. So you're creating a video without even using a lot of video assets here, which is kind of interesting, right? So just thinking about that cost effect. It feels like a video. It's acting like an interactive video. It's playing like a video. There's audio narration over it. And now I can drill down and just, you know, get more of the product details. This could be where you put the information that changes all the time, right? Do we ever have that problem with maintaining our courses and you want to do something a little bit different? You want to have a more cutting edge approach, something more dynamic, but there's all this content that's going to change. So we can still have a strategy for how to tackle your content and yet do video and not have to worry about updating the video.
Yeah, I mean, just to stretch the framework a little bit. I mean, one thing I think is interesting is taking talking head video, which a lot of organizations have talking head video, and as a CEO or executive is presenting or customers talking, sometimes they mention an initiative going on in the organization, just on the off the cuff, or a term that's comfortable to them, but may not be comfortable to the entirety of the company. So you could use a hotspot to kind of sort of cascade content and go into greater depth for those who are interested in doing it, really tailoring or personalizing that experience for those who need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great point about reusing video assets that you have elsewhere in the organization. Maybe there was a big marketing meeting that got videotaped, and you can carve out some of those key sound bites or bits to include in it to create a much more dynamic experience. Now, Steve, this example here, the Bridgestone, which our Argentina office did, that's using Adapt. I mean, these are Adapt components layered on top of an interactive video, and Adapt is an open source framework. So just, you know, that's a SCORM object.
It's a bit of a hack on top of the open source framework.
Yeah. Okay.
Way to describe it.
We keep using that term. There's other things that aren't as much of a hack, but there's lots of ways to do this these days. I think is really what we want to point out. An extension to the
open source framework would be more elegant.
Yes. Less hack, more extension. All right, virtual tours. Think about a new onboarding program and you want to walk people through your facility. Or perhaps you want to take them onto a manufacturing floor and learn about different pieces of equipment. Simply strap on your GoPro camera and go out and get real live video of the scene. You can put hotspots over it. For this Compass, this is an onboarding program with Compass. And what they did here, I'm going to pull it over. This was built within our Adapt framework. So you have, this is not interactive video, this is Adapt, where you're creating a little avatar. And I'm going to go into the video section. This is the menu of the course. These are each different topic areas, and I'm going to go into the section called Get Stuck In. And here we are learning about who Compass is. And there's a video here. So this is embedded within the course page, within the SCORM page. And now you've kind of added a dynamic element to the course itself through interactive video. So whenever we see this plus sign, we're going to click on that, and we are going to learn more about the people talking. This was their this was a senior leader, the managing group director at Compass Group. And so he's outside of the O2, which is a big concert venue in London, and we're going to go through that space. And they chose that particular space because it represented a lot of, kind of, it had a lot of the elements that a lot of their spaces have. So you're going to meet roles and responsibilities that are fairly widespread across the organization. And he's telling me to have a great time and thanks us for joining. And now we're going in, the video kind of gets spread up, and I can learn about Chris now. I can learn about the security officer. So they're the first people I see coming into the video. And now it's video within video. So Chris is telling us about his job role, what he does, what security means at Compass. He's talking about some of the challenges. And I can move back out and continue on the tour. And here we got these guys. They're receptionists and guest services. And so just a really nice way to kind of get to know the people within the organization, the roles that they do, the values, the organization's values through real people telling real stories. And that's all embedded kind of within this larger e-learning program. So you get to have a lot of context all around it.
Just a quick shout out to Caleb Foster, who was our customer for this program. His baby, Caleb, who's on with us.
Nice. Excellent. All right, where was I going to take you next? This is an exciting tour. All right, so taking advantage of existing marketing materials, we talked about that a little bit. So that's what we did here with this particular client. This is Rolls-Royce. All right, Black Badge. Black Badge is their car. Is that big enough? That looks good.
It is, and then obviously as we look at this, I'm sure for each of you, most of us sit in learning and development, think about who has more budgets to create these kinds of things. Is it marketing or is it learning and development? And my guess is I know that answer. In this case, the learning and development department was able to build on that asset that their marketing team had created already.
Yeah, so this is just gorgeous, rich, lush video for a very high-end luxury product. And I'm going to take you through a couple of things just really quickly to show you kind of how they did it. So in this first segment, we're exploring the car. We're learning about the car, what it stands for. It's all about brand with Rolls-Royce, and Rolls-Royce is really trying to redefine itself here as a much more cutting-edge, youthful market. And I can click, there was a hotspot there, and now I'm going to see a video that's this guy talking about really how they have changed the brand, what its identity is. So within the, exploring video within video. And just, gorgeous video within it. Seems really lush for a learning program, right? And the video starts to feel a little bit like a commercial too. There's this guy with his cards and his Las Vegas lifestyle, I guess. The alter ego. You've seen the car, you know what it's about. So here's a question in the middle of it. How would you describe it to a potential customer? So now we're trying to help people. This is a sales training program, right? So we want to help people start thinking about how to frame this car within the larger package of Rolls-Royce products. And I think it's a highly contemporary and luxury model, yes. So I can explore the other ones. It's not sporty or it's not a package, right? So it's not a quiz per se, but you're getting to kind of explore and gain some confidence in what you know about this product. I'm going to go back to the home page now and take you into the challenge, because this is where this scenario gets a little bit more immersive here. And again, this is using existing marketing videos. We told a story. We wrapped a story around and characters around these. There's going to be a score feature as you go through it, so that gamified element a little bit. And this is Julian and Selena. And he doesn't think that the Rolls-Royce really quite fits him, that the Black Badge. He thinks it's what older guys buy. It's not what, he's 30, he's young and hip. It's not really the right product for him. So do you think Jordan and his girlfriend Selena could be, is this a good fit for them? And here it is a question. No, they look too young. Yes, they are stylish and have an air of luxury about them. To me, that seems right. And I scored 7 points. Maybe that's not the right option for him, but I did all right there. So Jordan tells us that he thinks that Rolls-Royce motor cars are for older people. He thinks that Black Badge, which is this car, seems a little edgier and hipper. So Jordan's a little skeptical. How are you going to explain the brand to him? So I think it's, I don't know, let's say it's this one. I scored 10 points. So I filled up, you can see as I'm going through it, I'm filling up points. So we've created, using existing marketing materials, we've created an immersive story around it. And you get kind of into it. It's pretty cool how we were able to combine marketing videos here with a storyline and make it work. And a lot of it's going to depend on what you have as that starting base if you are reusing existing assets. But it's all in the creative design, right? All right, so what else we got? Coach Vision, Expert Insights. Steve, you probably are best positioned to talk about this one. Let me pull this up.
Sure. So this was a proof of concept we did, and someone asked a question, so I'll tie in an answer to the question about how long does it take to create these with introducing this example. So this was a simple proof of concept we were doing for a prospective client. And so we used one of the authoring tools out in the market that we shared earlier to build this. And the long pole in the tent in any of these, especially if you're using one of the tools, is the video capture. So in this case, they were either, I forget it, they provided an asset or we were able to pull something off of YouTube. But actually dropping in the hotspots and putting in the explanation took a few hours. It's really quite straightforward and easy. In terms of the second part of your question, how often do you update the material? You know, I think that'll sort of drive your material will drive that, right? How, like any content, I think it needs to be reviewed, you know, on a regular basis. This example, so the idea here is we were teaching the principles of soccer, so and we were using this video of a professional video being played.
Soccer.
Yeah, professional soccer being played, and to the AYSO coach, as a former AYSO coach, I can say this with confidence. Most of us don't know the first thing about soccer. We're just doing this because we want to support our kids and be involved in the community. So we're trying to use this to, you know, there's a big gap between seeing this video to the naked, an untrained eye, and how, you know, what's really going on there. So we use this concept called Coach Vision, which is, you know, how do we kind of now layer in another layer? How do we layer in another more explanation as you watch that video, so you can actually start to kind of pick that apart. So the hotspots kind of help explain as the play evolves what's going on there, and it reinforces key principles that you can then take to the AYSO field.
And I like this one because as the video advances, it looks like I'm having I'm having a little bit of lag right now on my computer, so I apologize. But the video's playing, and you see the players running across the field, and as they do that, the hot spots are coming up, and you know, you're seeing it in action. You're seeing this explanation right layered on top of the video. I think it's pretty cool. I like the Coach Vision idea. Anything else to say about this one, Steve? So this is Adapt. This is an Adapt page with an interactive video embedded inside the page. So you can still do all your other traditional e-learning around it if you want. And interactive video can be the whole course, or it could just be a piece of it. So I think, you know, as you figure out different approaches internally, you can experiment. There's a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I would just add, you know, the concept of Coach Vision, we think, travels beyond obviously sports, which is often we want to show complicated things, and to the untrained eye, you don't pick up the subtleties. So again, you can just add that layer of explanation using the video to provide context.
Yeah, no, this was an example we pulled up. Let's see where I put it. Oh, sorry, I just found her. She's over here. Maren Alsop. So this is on one of the tool company's websites. And I thought this is a really cool way of using video is essentially kind of having a conversation with the person. So they shot all these questions, and now you get to choose which questions you want to ask her. Did you ever feel like you were treated differently in the men? So you click on that, now she's going to answer that. So it gives you a lot of control over what you hear. So that could be a really great way to explore, you know, the thoughts of your CEO on your new corporate strategy, or your compliance officer's point of view on this particular regulation. I think there's lots of ways you could do this. Or new employees talking about what it's like to work at this organization. So really simply, there's just questions here at the side, and each of these questions is going to trigger, you know, kind of that next branch of video.
Yeah, and it kind of solves a long-standing problem with talking head video. I mean, it's great to get the credibility of a senior leader in your organization. I think people put a lot of value on that, but frankly, often seeing them talk for 3 minutes can be it can be boring or and painful sometimes because they're not very good on camera. But when you break it down into short snippets, which are led by questions, you can make it much more engaging and give control back to the user.
Yeah, good points. And looking at our time, I think we're going to talk just end talking about the example that I showed you at the beginning, which is really what we like to call a guided story. You're taking this, you know, the whole program is told through this narrative, and as you work through the content, you're seeing all of these principles and actions in action through, you know, in this case, it's first person point of view. You're the character embedded, immersed in this story and making decisions as you go through. And that can be a really powerful way to pull people through content, because the story, as we all know, just incites our curiosity, right? I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know what happens to Jim. I want to know, I want to get all the way to the conclusion at the end, right? So you're pulled along with that narrative, and that can be a really powerful way to get people through all of the content in it, you know. And depending on how you write it, depending on how you shoot it, you know, it could be a funny kind of just engaging way to have a slice of life. It could be a little bit, you know, could go viral within your organization. That's what people always want it to do, right? So where can you make interactive video work? I think really across the board, there's lots of places we could pull in interactive video. Compliance and policy, really exploring those gray areas where you want to allow people to hear different points of view, try out different, you know, different endings. You know, what happens if Joe does this versus this? In a health and safety situation, Steve kind of mentioned spot the hazards, and we've seen that in use in a few programs where you're you know, you're going through an office space and you have to find where all the, you know, the things are going to trip you up. And as you go and you click on all those things, you can learn about them and then score points and get through the program. Decision making, so telling a guided story or some kind of a scenario, and then at key points you have to help make a key decision. Problem solving, management and leadership programs, again, you kind of immerse people into these stories and let them try out different options and different points of view. We saw some great examples here for onboarding and induction programs that can really help you introduce your organization in a very visceral, tangible way, I guess. And that's really the power of video. So that is kind of what we wanted to run through today. And see, any more questions, Steve? We have a great guide available up on the Kineo website, Lights, Camera, Interaction. And we've been writing a series of blog posts recently, so there's going to be a lot more coming from us on this. The Kineo US team, we've got 3 projects right now that are actively using interactive video. So we see it as something that's just going to grow and grow. And a lot more of us are going to be using it in a fairly short time. So I would expect in you know, our poll results where people are saying it's just getting on our radar, that's why I'm here, I think those numbers are going to start flipping a little bit, and hopefully today helped you see that you can make it. It doesn't have to be a prohibitively scary thing and really costly. There's ways to do it using tools that you have, using video and assets that you have, or just finding low budget ways to do it. So Steve, any final questions?
There are no questions currently. I guess maybe a closing thought, which is, I think one thing you'll find is that, some of these videos easier to create than asynchronous e-learning. For asynchronous e-learning, you tend to need a graphic artist who's a specialist. You need script writers. You need a lot of special roles. With interactive video, you can frankly probably get away with a little bit more. So we would encourage people, just like we did a few years ago, jump on in, do a pilot, have a play with we did with the Kineo values, and see how it works out for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We will follow up with recording of the session, and check out the Kineo blog for more info and insights on interactive video.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Cami.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a great day.